Hello, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ashley Smith here in the First Alert Streaming Center. Okay. Just getting a couple of more things done. Okay. So, this is not the right show. Hold on. Thought I was ready, and then I was wrong. But welcome to 19 at noon on this Tuesday. I am so messed up with the days of the week. Yesterday all day I thought it was Tuesday, and then so today I'm like, no, today is Tuesday, and it's finally like sinking in, I think. But we're seeing some rain on radar. The problem is it doesn't look like we're going to get much of that rain at the surface, and we'll kind of dive into all of that. We'll talk about any kind of additional rainfall that we could see, how it could impact our weekend plans. And yeah, we'll look ahead to next week as well, of course. So, all right, as always, I will be checking the comments on Facebook if you have any questions or anything like that. Let's make this as interactive as possible so that we can chat back and forth. That's always the goal here, to give you another way to get all of that weather information. Okay, so outside right now, oh, that did not, what? I don't know why I'm having technological issues today, but apparently I am. Okay. All right. I see what I did. Okay. I think I see what I did. We will. All right. So, excuse me, outside right now, what's happening is we initially, it kind of looked like, which Queensgate comes off and on all the time, so just ignore that. But here on our tower cam, we did have these overcast skies earlier, and right now it does appear to be overcast, but I think it's just the sun angle. Because if you look here at Newport on the Levee and Turfway Park, where the clouds look very similar, we've seen a lot more breaks in the clouds recently, and that is showing you that there is some drier air. You know, the clouds are kind of breaking apart. We're on the outer edge of this. I did it again. Man, that's annoying. Okay, we're on the outer edge of this cloud deck, and it is creating, with us being on the outer edge of that, we're just seeing these scattered clouds and a lot of blue in the sky and a lot of dry air. So temperatures right now there at Turfway Park are in the 70s, which is actually coming from CVG, which borders Turfway Park. But the dew points are in the 40s. So we really need those numbers to be closer together if we're going to see the rain at the surface. Beautiful weather here at Clovernook Country Club. I was saying, like, I wonder how much rain excuse me, how much water they've had to use on that lawn or on the fairways because of the drought. I mean, it's just incredible, the lack of rain that we've had around here. So, okay. Rain on radar right now, right? Looks great. But as we zoom in and we get kind of closer and we turn on our high resolution radar, there is some heavier rain there in Lewis County. And I would love to know if somebody is in Lewis County or drove through Lewis County, if that rain is making it to the ground, because we've been looking in Maysville when it's, because we do have a traffic camera in Maysville, and they have not seen a drop of rain from what we can tell. So I would just be interested to know that. And then you also have a little bit of rain here along 71 near the split. A little bit of rain there, not enough to cause puddles. You might need to use the windshield wipers very briefly, but we're not looking at anything significant. Hello, Jeff. Good afternoon. It is officially noon. Hey, how about that? Yes, but not a lot of rain. Unfortunately, too, of course, we've been saying this isn't going to be a drought buster. You know, what we would need is several inches of rain over a long period of time, because we don't want the rain to be too heavy because it will just lead to runoff, but we need it to soak into that ground. So we need enough rain that initially it's going to run off no matter what, just because of the nature of the rain hitting a hard surface. But then that ground will eventually start to get soaked, and it will become saturated and allow that moisture to get it down to where it needs to, of course, water the lawns and gardens and the vegetation and all that, and refill the streams and creeks and the rivers and the wells. I've been talking about that. I've been mentioning that several times, because I actually have some family members that are on wells, and they were talking about that recently too, that if the well is really deep, and depending upon if there's like a water source nearby, it can really help out. But if that's not the situation, you're just relying on rainfall, that's really quite the problem. So, and we've heard some pretty terrible stories about farms being really impacted by this drought. Ken Baker today was in Butler County at a pumpkin patch, and it was interesting what the woman said there at the pumpkin patch. She said, you want them to begin growing in dry conditions. She actually, the phrase she used was, you don't want pumpkins to have wet feet. So when they start growing, you want it to be dry, but then just before you pick them, you want those roots to start to get moisture. And so now they would love for there to be some rain, because you really start to get into that pumpkin patch season probably here in the next couple of weeks and well into October, right? So they would love to have some rain right now. She said she would actually recommend the pumpkins that haven't been picked from the patch yet, if you're actually going to go out there and pick them yourselves, she would recommend waiting until we get some rain, because you want to pick them like right after it has rained. So that was pretty interesting. I didn't know the exact science of how the drought can impact the pumpkin patches. We know with Christmas trees, for example, it takes years. I think it's like 7 or 8 years for those trees to mature. So we will have to look at, maybe in 2030, 2031, if this drought has impacted local tree farms and other tree farms, because this drought is pretty widespread, impacting many, many states. So unfortunately, not going to see any kind of major favors from Mother Nature here from this particular system, which was a tropical system, or still technically is a tropical system. It came off of the Atlantic coast. It never got a name. It never strengthened to become a named tropical storm. But you can tell that as it moves from east to west, it's almost becoming shredded. And what I mean by that is it's very concentrated right here near Norfolk as it moves off of the ocean. Then it starts to run into some topography. Of course, just the land in general will weaken a tropical system. But then it's running into the Appalachian Mountains, and that's really weakening this system and helping it to kind of fall apart and dissipate. And with us being on the outer fringe of this system, we're kind of on the northwestern edge of it right now, we're just seeing minimal impacts. And so the system will impact our weather throughout the day today and tomorrow. What I mean by that is you'll notice the clouds, and we will see that chance for sprinkles, but it looks like sprinkles are going to be the best thing that we'll get from this. And that's very unfortunate, because we've seen these tropical systems time and time again, especially with Francine, where it looked like we had a chance to get a soaking rain and a drought buster for sure. Of course, that was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, but unfortunately didn't end up happening. We kind of missed. Saw a few sprinkles on Friday, but that was about it. So burn bans, and thanks to Ethan Emery for letting us know that these have been updated. Now kind of strange, I guess you could say, that Mason County is not included in a burn ban yet. We'll have to see if that does change, because it's surrounded by counties that are in burn ban. So we'll have to see if that changes. Even if you're not in a burn ban, probably a good idea to just hold off, because in these types of situations, it's going to be very easy for a fire to spread out of control. Even I've been using the example of a cigarette that's flicked out the window. That can turn into a brush fire, and that can spread very quickly with any kind of breeze. And even in these types of situations, with how dry that ground is, it might not even take any kind of wind for that to happen. So just a good idea to hold off on burning until we get some rain, or until, of course, those burn bans could be lifted if we see any kind of improvement to the drought. But at this point, we don't see that in the forecast. So this is the Drought Monitor. Of course, it will be updated on Thursday. But all of the area in some sort of drought, whether it's abnormally dry up to exceptional drought there in Highland County. Many of us in a moderate drought, severe drought popping up in parts of northern Kentucky, which of course includes a large portion of Owen County, Pendleton County too, so Grant County too. So obviously the drought situation ongoing across the region, and we don't see any kind of significant improvement, that's for sure, anytime soon. I want to make sure that I've included a couple of graphics here, so bear with me. Okay, so Tonight, we have the partial lunar eclipse along with the full harvest moon. Now, the partial lunar eclipse, that happens, it begins at 10:12 p.m., it reaches maximum at 10:44, and it ends by 11:15. So ideally, if we get a break in the clouds, if you can look up at the moon, you'll be able to see that eclipse around 10:44 reaching maximum. Now, the maximum eclipse is only 8.5% of the moon, but it's still something. It's still... I think you'll be able to notice it if you look up there. And we'll just have to see if we can break the clouds or if the clouds are thin enough that you'll be able to see the moon beyond that. Either way, the past couple of days, you've probably noticed that moon has been really bright because it's been getting closer and closer to being full. Tonight's the night that it is going to be full. So either way, something to check out this evening and look up at that evening sky. Temperatures right now in the 70s, and while it feels like a little humid, the dew point is technically a little bit lower today compared to yesterday. It's just because we're being influenced by that tropical system. You can definitely tell that there's a difference in the air mass, I think. 77 right now at CVG, 76 at Lunken, 78 in Hamilton, Lebanon, and Wilmington, both at 75. And again, looking at that dew point, when I came in this morning, the dew point was at 50, I believe. It went down to like 48, back to 49, and now it's at 47. So either way, still very dry air at the surface. You know, we would love to see that dew point in the 60s right now so that it would better support some of that rain. But unfortunately, it just doesn't look like that's going to happen. At Great American Ballpark this evening, of course, the Reds are back in town facing the Braves today, tomorrow, Thursday, and then they'll face the Pirates Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then that's it for home games this season. So you have a few more opportunities to get out there to the ballpark. Obviously, this is the last 3-2-1 Tuesdays. Friday, the last Fireworks Friday, followed by a Nelly concert. And yeah, so all those fun things. Just kind of the last opportunities to check it out. Oh, Bark in the Park tomorrow. I know that. So squeezing in all of these fun activities before, of course, the season comes to an end. So at first pitch, temperatures will be near 80 degrees, and then we'll fall down into the 70s throughout that game. Should be pretty comfortable conditions, all things considered, there at the ballpark this evening. Obviously, another busy weekend. Not only are the Reds in town, we have Oktoberfest Cincinnati. We have the LPGA Tour. That's happening up in Mainville, Ohio, at a new location this year. So several outdoor festivities happening. I'm sure I'm forgetting several. There's other Oktoberfests too, other fall festivals. Just another busy weekend here in the Tri-State. So here's the deal. Thursday is going to be the coolest day as we look ahead to Oktoberfest, or the LPGA for that matter, with temperatures in the mid-80s. We'll get close to 90 for Friday and Saturday, and even as we head into Sunday, those temperatures will be close to 90. However, on Sunday, we're looking at the possibility of rain in the evening. So if you're going to Oktoberfest, maybe want to get that in earlier rather than later so that you beat some of that rain. Here's a look at the model projection for rain for us today. There is a chance that this continues tonight, but again, it's just going to be light rain or sprinkles. Could it impact Great American Ballpark? Yes, but I think it's light enough that they'll be able to play through and they won't have to deal with any kind of a rain delay. You know, the later it gets in the season, which obviously this is the latest that it gets, it's really hard to deal with those delays because you can't really postpone a game when the season is winding down. It's much more difficult to do that. So hoping for no disruptions there at the ballpark. And then looking at rainfall totals, and I'll show you another model here coming up. And it's little to nothing. You know, Wilmington could get a half of an inch. I think that's optimistic, but that's through Sunday. So that would be some of the rain that we could possibly get Sunday evening. And let me show you that, what it looks like here. Okay. So here's what it looks like as we head through this week. Again, just small chances for rain today and tomorrow. Honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that we need rain so bad, it's probably something we would hardly mention, but it becomes a bigger deal when, of course, we've had such dry conditions. Then as we look ahead to Saturday and Sunday, Saturday is dry. Let me backpedal this just a bit so that you can see those chances for rain Sunday. So Sunday starts dry. Sunday morning is okay. By the time we get to Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, we start to see that chance for rain moving from west to east through the area. Could provide us with, you know, on this model, it looks like a soaking rain, right? Well, not all of the models agree, but this would be great because we could really use the rain. Again, Oktoberfest is happening Sunday, but I think the hours of that on Sunday are like 11 to 7, so it might even wrap up before we get any of that rain. Either way, we need the rain, so we'll just have to kind of deal with it if it does impact those outdoor activities. And then Monday and Tuesday, we at least have that chance for maybe a light shower, an isolated shower, maybe even a rumble of thunder. But it's just a chance at this point. You know, I wouldn't, if I had outdoor plans those days, I would not bet on this forecast. But it does look like we have some rain that gets close to us next week as well. So maybe not necessarily a drought buster, but something that could definitely help us. At this point, we could use any kind of rain, so that would be good. Yes, and Saturday morning we have the Hootapole 14K and 7K. Looks a little warm for that, but at least it's in the morning, so they should have pleasant conditions for that race. That was the first race I ever ran in Cincinnati, was the Hootie 14K, and boy, was it hard. It was like a very hilly course through OTR, but I had a blast doing that. Okay, so temperatures in the 80s, close to 90 here on that 7-day forecast. We will get in the mid 80s Wednesday and Thursday. Again, slight chance for showers tomorrow. That really should probably say sprinkles. And it's only in the morning because then that system moves east. We're dry Thursday and Friday. We'll still hang on to the clouds on Thursday and then clear out Friday. We're near 90 for Saturday and Sunday. We do see that chance for rain late in the day on Sunday, perhaps continuing into Monday. Now, Monday, of course, is Monday Night Football. We'll fine-tune that forecast a lot closer as we get there, as they take on the Washington Commanders. But it does look like at least there's a chance for rain. Still warm, though. You know, the normal high is 79. Records are in the mid-90s this time of year, so we're not looking at record heat, but definitely warmer than normal, no doubt about that. Okay, as we look ahead, okay. Sorry, I was also looking ahead. Okay, so next week, of course, this starts next Tuesday, a week from today. Definitely more rain chances. I mentioned this a little bit ago, but far too soon to really tell if this is going to be enough to really help us out. But this is exactly what we need, where every day we have a chance for rain, because that drought is just, I mean, at this point, really, it's going to be difficult to get out of that drought, but this is the type of thing that would help us. Temperatures do drop into the 70s a couple of days on the 14-day forecast. That would be nice, I think, anyways, because the warm weather has been persisting for quite a while. So it would be nice to see a little bit of a cool down. I do see a few questions here. Okay. Oh, I definitely, okay, so the dry weather has made, okay, so the question is about how running impact, or how the drought has impacted running. And I will say that when it's really muggy or really humid and you're going out running, you're obviously going to sweat a lot more, and you need a lot of hydration to kind of combat that. And so that, you know, you always deal with that in summer, especially around here. With the dry conditions, it hasn't so much impact. I will say at times, most of the time I run on the sidewalk or in the street if I can, you know, if it's safe to do that, obviously. But and then running in the ground, when you do have to kind of switch over to the grass or something like that, it doesn't really impact me that much. I kind of like it, actually, because the thicker grass is really difficult to run through. But the dry air has made me even more thirsty, because then, like, while I may not be sweating as much, my mouth is dry. So actually both are kind of difficult. Both of them, you want water. So I would say that has been the biggest impact, just the fact that the air has been so dry that it's made me very thirsty. Oh, you have well water, Jeff. That's interesting. I wonder if you know how much longer that could last for you, or, you know, what kind of problems you could run into. That would be interesting. Okay, and then I had a question about, do we think we'll see a wet, like, in other words, will we make up for this drought now that it's been so dry? Will we eventually get really wet? It does not look like that necessarily in the Climate Prediction Center's forecast. However, I will say that it does look like we're going to go into a La Nina this winter, and that does favor more precipitation than normal. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean snow. That means more precipitation. It could be rain, it could be ice, it could be a mix of rain, snow, ice, it could be anything, but it just means more precipitation in general. So yes, we could kind of even this out. You have to also remember that in the spring, we actually had some really wet weather before we went into the drought. I think it was May was really wet. And so we kind of, I don't know, we had a lot of precipitation early on, and then we made our way into the drought. So let me see what month. I think it was May. Yeah, we had more than almost an inch more precipitation than normal in May. So not that that has helped, obviously, it's been too long, but it's one of those things where, oh, we had a really wet spring, and so now we're having a dry summer. So in May, we were about an inch above normal, and then in June, we were about 4 inches below normal. So, I mean, we just immediately went into that drought, really, or started to go into that drought. June definitely set the stage for us. And the other thing is, sometimes this is not, all of these numbers that I'm reading right now are from CVG, because then in July we had wetter than normal, but that's just CVG. So your house, this is a large viewing area, and you may have been in Highland County and you missed out on any kind of storms, and you've been dry for a really, really long time. And in one storm could have dumped more than an inch of rain. Well, that's not really helpful necessarily, because some of that leads to runoff. You need it kind of over a more lengthy period of time. So that's what's really kind of hurt us, is that when we've seen the rain, it's been really heavy, maybe not enough to kind of soak into the ground. And so that's another reason why we've led to this drought. Ideally, we would want soaking rains, steady soaking rains that could actually soak in and saturate the ground for several days. We don't want it all at once. We don't want just a little bit here or there. We want like a steady rain over a decent amount of time. I mean, that would be ideal. That obviously almost never happens. Yes, exactly, Brent. Thank you. So yeah, so if you kind of look at the past maybe 6 months, which I'd have to actually look at those numbers, maybe 6-7 months, we might be normal on average, but the problem is the past 2 months especially have just been really dry. So that's what's led to these current conditions. Not to mention it's been hot, so that's really, and we talk about how this is going to impact the fall colors, and unfortunately it looks like it's going to have a big impact on the fall foliage, and we might not have beautiful, brilliant fall colors. We'll have to go somewhere that's had that rain and had those cool nights to really change those colors, because I've seen a lot of dead leaves that, and I think this happened last year too, at least initially. We saw those leaves that they died before they had a chance to change color. They died, they fell off, and they never got to reach that fall foliage. So I think that could be the case again this year, at least here. Now, if you're looking for places to go that you could see some better fall foliage, it would be where that drought's not quite as severe, and where they've seen more of those soaking rains, which, at least according to the Drought Monitor and some of our observations, that would be closer to the Ohio River in the southeastern portions of the viewing areas. So think southern Adams and Brown County, portions of Mason and Lewis County. I mean, those areas are even getting rain right now. So that kind of coincides with what I'm saying. But the other thing, Catherine Bodock pointed this out earlier, and that this is important to note, this is interpolated data. In other words, it's taking the observations from several different areas, but then it's kind of averaging it out over a certain amount of space. So this, again, may not be, you may be in Fayette County and you've had a lot of rain, but your neighbor 5 miles down the road, or some, I guess it's not your neighbor, but your friend 5 miles down the road has seen completely different situation. But maybe that particular observation isn't being taken into account here because it's interpolated data. So that's just something to consider. But it's definitely, I mean, we know that it's been dry around here, no doubt about that, but it's worse if you look areas to the east, parts of southeastern Ohio and a large portion of West Virginia are in that extreme and exceptional drought. So, and there's a lot of farms in that area too, a lot of produce and vegetables that come out of there. So unfortunately, this is going to have a big trickle-down effect, I think, as well. Okay. All right. Okay. I think I'm going to get off of here work on some other stuff. Get ready for the 3 o'clock newscast. I'll be back at 3 and 4. And then tomorrow, yes, I was going to say we're back to normal tomorrow. We're back to normal Thursday. But yes, so I'll be back at 3 and 4 this afternoon. And then tomorrow morning, of course, Steve Horsemeyer will have your forecast tonight at 5 and 6 and your streaming show at 7. So make sure you tune in for all of that. Thank you guys so much, everybody, for your questions and your comments, and appreciate the interactivity. Have a great day.